It took 3 betrayals for me to finally understand.
This has got to be one of the most toxic fandom stories I've ever come across.
This is why no one likes the Genshin Impact fandom.
There's been some serious allegations thrown
you're
around
cringe.
in the
You play
community.
Genshin?
I don't like Genshin
But
Impact.
didn't the Korean have 5,000 come?
become
Oh
the
my
architect of
god!
destruction.
Some people even said it could be the game that finally kills Genshin Impact.
Oh, the drama!
Hey, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel. My name is E, as in like ecologist, because I am a scientist or researcher whose field of study involves the interactions and relationships between organisms and their environment. The organisms in question being Genshin Impact players, and their environment being Twitter. And today, I am expanding my field of expertise into more of Genshin Impact's biggest controversies. If you haven't already seen my first video on this topic, I highly suggest watching it after this one. We already ranked 16 of Genshin Impact's controversies, so that means today we will again be ranking more controversies from Genshin Impact's past and present based on their severity. Fair warning, some topics that we will be covering in today's video may be triggering, so I will be including some trigger warnings before we start talking about them. And I want this discussion to be a lighthearted one, which is why I formatted it into a tier list in the first place, but also I don't want this format to demean or diminish any of the topics that we will be discussing. And with all of that out of the way, let's just get into it. But real fast, hey, please like and subscribe. And also follow us on Twitch for more goofs. So these tiers are basically the same as last time, but I will explain them again briefly for those who don't remember and for those who just, don't know. In the top tier, we have silly goofy mood. Topics that fall into this category will be decisions or mistakes that Hoyoverse has made that they're just like,
I'm sorry. I'm just in a silly, goofy mood.
Next is the My Hero Academia fandom. I love the My Hero Academia fandom, but unfortunately, they have become synonymous with cringe culture. So these are the times when the Genshin Impact fandom could be comparable to the MHA fandom. Next up is People Are Dying Cam. These are for events that are just like inconsequential. On the scale of real world consequence to a diamond earring in the ocean, these are the diamond earrings in the ocean.
Diamond earring came off in the ocean and it's gone. And there's people that are dying.
The next category is taking accountability. So now this one is for mess ups that are more serious than the others, that Hoyoverse or the people who do it should be held accountable for, and that they should like apologize for. And this one's a new tier. Look, it's all shiny and new. And this one is called So That Just Happened. So That Just Happened is a millennial joke. I'm not even millennial. I'm like appropriating millennial culture right now. So if you don't get the joke, I'm sorry, but also I'm so happy for you. This is for times when neither Hoyoverse nor the fandom were like in the wrong, but they were still affected by this third party weird thing that we all kind of experienced together. And last but not least is the category not funny. This is for events that are of real-world consequence and should be handled with respect. These are events that should be talked about and acknowledged so that they don't happen again. I will be giving trigger warnings for these. And now with all of that explained, let's go right into our first controversy. Okay, so starting off with our favorite Yaksha with karmic debt, Xiao. So when Xiao was teased and released as a playable character, the fandom fell head over heels for him. I mean, how could you not? He's a colorful animo guy with intense emotional baggage and a cold facade. He's every girl's I can fix him dream. That was sarcastic, by the way. It was a joke, okay? The whole I could fix him thing is totally like not cool, but it was a joke, so. Moving on. But with this intense popularity and adoration came, of course, some unhealthy media consumption habits. Some fans really wanted him when his banner dropped. And as gacha goes, some people got him and some people didn't. The hardcore Xiao fans who didn't get lucky in their pools started to become very bitter and devastated in their sadness and would attack and shame people online who did get lucky with their Xiao pools. It was a type of serious chronically online behavior, with some internet users saying stuff like, you shouldn't post winning your 50-50. It's very insensitive. As TikTok user Kaeya states in their TikTok on the subject, people were posting themselves crying online over him, and even bullying users who got him and would harass people who used his ultimate because it caused him pain. The hype and pandemonium that surrounded this little guy was absolutely bonkers love. So for this absolute frenzy that was going on online, I'm going to put it in MHA fandom. He's a set of pixels. So bullying people over pixels. Grass. Also, fun fact, even though it's not really fun, when I was searching up more info on this event, I ran into an article where in some school in Michigan, USA, a student drew a mural for the school with positive imagery that stated, "Stay healthy," and included a tiny doodle of Xiao's mask in the corner and a trans flag. Parents saw it and thought it was some devil worshipping painting and LGBTQ propaganda, and it was just a whole thing. It's just so ridiculous, and I feel so bad for this kid because they did a great job. I'm not gonna rank this controversy, but I wanted to tell you about it because I didn't know about it, and you might not have known about it either. So there it is. Next up is the Joyous Summer Fan Art Contest. So Genshin Impact has held a lot of fan art competitions throughout the years, and these competitions would include like fan art competitions, cosplay and fan fiction, and primo rewards would be rewarded to the winners. The rules of these contests are that fan-created works must be self-created, made in the past month, with no tracing or splicing together of non-original elements, and you can't use graphic design tools like Photoshop, for example. So naturally, AI-generated content would not be allowed. Skip to July of 2023, where the winners of the Joyous Summer Art Contest were announced, and a lot of them were being accused of using AI to generate the images, and others were accused of tracing from official artworks. Here is some examples in the proof that internet users found to condemn the stolen artworks. Hoyoverse released a statement on their Japanese Twitter apologizing for not catching these instances sooner, and everyone who had been found guilty of tracing or using AI had been disqualified and gotten no rewards. This wasn't the first time something like this had happened in the fandom, with stolen art winning contests, and it most certainly won't be the last, but it was quite the controversy, since there were so many winners that were found guilty of these accusations, and plus, it happened during the surge of AI art, so many people were angry over it in the first place, so it caused a huge splash. So I'm gonna put this one into taking accountability, because Hoyoverse did apologize and were held accountable for this, and they did revoke their rewards, but it also just like makes me so angry. I guess in the larger scheme of things, this honestly isn't really that important to like the general eyes of the public, but I am so involved with the artist community inside and outside Genshin, and I have a particular bone to pick with AI generated art. So it kind of strikes a chord with me, and it makes me like really angry. And it's my tier list. Okay, so I decide where it goes. Next up is the weapon banner, and this one was nuts. So from what I have gathered, when Hu Tao dropped in 1.3, so did the Staff of Homa, an amazing signature 5-star weapon that makes Hu Tao an absolute devastating killing machine. But the thing is, the weapon banner that we all know and hate today was even worse back then. Today, there is an epitomized path option where you will eventually get the 5-star weapon you want after 2 50-50 losses, which is already insane, but this wasn't the case in 1.3. Everyone knew the weapon banner was scammy, but what really put it on everyone's radar was when a popular Genshin content creator, Tectone, posted his viral Homa pools on YouTube. It was a 2-parter, and apparently, dude had to spend $2,000 until he got one Staff of Homa. Just one. This garnered a lot of attention, with both videos amassing almost 2 million views combined between the two of them, and it really put into people's minds just how much of a scam the weapon banner truly was. Now, of course, no official comment was made by Hoyoverse, but in version 2.0, the epitomized path was implemented. We can't say for sure that it was because of all this attention these videos garnered that forced Hoyo to make this change, or maybe it was just a lot of hate from the community in general for this, this, but it definitely seemed to have played a part in it. This is for sure going into taking accountability. Dude spent $2,000 and he was just one example, so imagine all the other people that were suffering with this at the time as well. I'm so glad that the epitomized path was implemented, even though I will never be wishing on the weapon banner. I just won't. You will never catch me wishing on the weapon banner. You won't. You won't. So this next one did happen a while ago, but I didn't include it in the first video and a lot of people asked for it, so I will be talking about it now. So this next minute or so of the video, I'll be giving trigger warnings for. So trigger warnings for sexual manipulation and adultery. Skip to this timestamp right here if you want to skip this section. Please take care of yourself, that's all that matters. So I'll give you 2 seconds. Okay, let's get into it. So we will be talking about Oz's Chinese voice actor. In 2021, the Chinese voice actor of Oz, Liyue, was fired from Genshin Impact and all other games he was in for committing adultery and for manipulating his fame to get sexual favors out of fans. He had a large role in a very popular Chinese dating game called Light and Day, and since it was a dating game and people got attached to the characters, it was especially easy for Liyue to emotionally manipulate those who associated his character with him. Hoyoverse released a statement saying they were firing him and to replace his VA as soon as possible, with Fischl being absent from a lot of the events that followed due to all of this. This will be going into the not funny section because there were real-world consequences to his actions. Some of his victims were very affected by all of this, so I really hope that they are getting the love, support, and help that they need. Next up is the game Tower of Fantasy. If you don't know, in 2022, a game called Tower of Fantasy hit the scene and was dubbed the Genshin Killer. There was a lot of hype surrounding it since it was very similar to Genshin. The UI was very Genshin-esque. It was gacha and it had the same anime elements to it, but it was an MMORPG and was set in a more sci-fi setting. If you've been a Genshin fan for a while, you'll recognize that literally every single anime-style open world type gacha game that's released is dubbed the Genshin Killer, and each time Genshin is never killed, as you can see. Tower of Fantasy was no different. Also, some sources that I used to research this topic said that Tower of Fantasy actually dubbed themselves the Genshin Killer originally, and if that's true, that is so embarrassing. People were super hyped because there was a design your own character element in the game, something Genshin doesn't have, and it's an MMORPG, so socializing with other players was 10 times easier than in Genshin. But not only were there a lot of glitches, but the game itself was in hot water for the sketchy past that the game's company had, as well as it being caught stealing assets from Honkai games, as well as faking reviews and plagiarizing one of their previews off of another animation. All of these things led to an immediate disinterest in the game. I was around for this and witnessed this, and remembered noticing how one moment the timeline was full of people's customizable characters and seeing some Twitch streamers play it, and in the next, everyone forgot about it and moved swiftly along. It's like one of the only controversies that had nothing to do with Hoyoverse nor the fandom. It was mostly just all of us being briefly affected by it and then forgot about it, but I still wanted to talk about it because a lot of people hoped that TOF would do really well so that Genshin had some actual competition, but this ended up not being the case. So for that reason, this is going into so that just happened. So the next up is our amazing English voice actors and the conditions that they have to endure and the shit happening with them. In July of 2023, Paimon's voice talent Corinna Bodeker sparked news online when they announced that they were owed thousands of dollars for their voice acting work on a very large gaming project. One of the biggest roles that Corinna maintains is that of our beloved Paimon, who has the most voice lines in the game. They at first did not confirm if it was in fact Genshin Impact, but did so later on. Another Genshin VA, Brandon Winkler, who voiced Tomo and several other NPCs, announced how he was not getting paid either, and then revealing that it was for his work on Genshin Impact. People were furious online for the VAs being treated this way. Hoyoverse quickly made a statement saying that they had just become aware and had made payments on time for the VA's work to the recording studio Formosa, and that it was the fault of Formosa. Hoyoverse then stated that they will be seeking alternative solutions. Many people online theorized that this meant that Hoya would be changing recording studio companies in the future, but that would take a long time to do. As of writing the script, I have not heard of any word that they have decided to change recording companies, and honestly, honestly, it's doubtful that they will. Corinna has since stated that they have been paid to everyone's glee, and they called for the game to be unionized, which will most likely not happen as well. The problem is, voice actors in the industry go through a lot of exploitation and crap, and anime dub voice actors go through even more crap. A lot of anime dub work is non-union, so taking advantage of them and not paying them or barely paying them is unfortunately commonplace. Even though Genshin is a huge client for Formosa, it still isn't as big as other works like Call of Duty and League of Legends, and it's still in the anime dub section, which means that Formosa honestly probably doesn't take it too seriously. It would also cost Hoyo time and a lot of money to switch studios, so Formosa is most likely doing all this because they know they will get away with it, as Displaced and Davis argues in their Reddit thread talking about the situation. Unfortunately, this isn't shocking, and it's an example of why strikes are happening all across the entertainment industry, because it is riddled with greed and exploitation. With all of the strikes happening in the entertainment world, I ask that you support talent in the strikes in any way that you can. I really hope that some sort of change happens and talent is treated like way better, but we're just gonna have to wait and see. This instance is gonna be going into taking accountability. I hope Hoyo decides to do something about this. Even if they don't change studios, they still decide to like raise their pay for the voice actors, though I really doubt that'll happen. But this is honestly a representation of a much larger issue that is affecting the entertainment world. I honestly don't really care if my favorite TV shows or movies take forever to get released, or if they don't ever get released. They're just not that important compared to like the actual issues that are happening. Those in power who profit off of the artists that actually make the thing should face some sort of repercussions and accountability for how they are. They're so it's so bad, guys. It's like so bad. All right, next up is the Switch. Okay, so before Genshin was even released in January of 2020, a Nintendo Switch trailer was released announcing that Genshin was going to eventually be made available on the Nintendo Switch. And, where is it? I don't know if you've noticed, but we still don't have it. And it's, almost 2024, so that's crazy. So it hasn't been like officially canceled yet, nor has its release been like announced, but we hold out hope. Some people say it's being held until the next generation of Nintendo Switch, but we honestly have like no idea. This is honestly going into silly goofy mood. Genshin, like, where is it? Just tell us that it's not working out, babe. I don't want to be led on. I'm hoping to God this doesn't happen with the anime. Can you imagine? Ooh, I'd be so upset. All right, next up is Aloy's release. This is like not really a controversy, but it kind of is. It's like a gray area, but it did happen, like the Switch thing, so I wanted to talk about it. In 2021, Hoyoverse announced a crossover collaboration event with Sony's Horizon Zero Dawn, where Aloy, the game's protagonist, would be added to Genshin Impact as a 5-star. First, she was only available to PlayStation players, but then in 2.2, she was available to everyone. Oh boy. Yippee. It's just weird because she doesn't fit anywhere with the lore, and the franchises are so different from like time period to technological aspects, and it's just weird. Though from what I understand, the reason why this all happened, if you didn't know, was because this was actually a deal between Hoyoverse and Sony, so that players who made Genshin accounts on the PlayStation would be able to still use those accounts on the PC or anywhere else. So for example, if you created an account before Aloy existed, then there was no cross-platform and you couldn't play on that account anywhere else, which like sucks. There's more meaning to her presence than it just being kind of random. She's still here, though I think she has expired, so if you weren't able to claim her, then you won't be able to. Ah, shucks. And a lot of players wanted to try and permanently delete her from their account, and I honestly don't really blame them. Like, I kind of don't want her on my account either. If I had thought about it for 2 seconds before clicking accept, I wouldn't probably have accepted her. It just kind of like messes with the whole immersion thing, but I understand why Hoyoverse did this, and I'm actually kind of glad that they did this. And also, she's just like a 5-star. But I really like her voice actor, and I like listening to her, so you win some, you lose some. Anyway, so I guess I'm gonna put this in silly goofy mood, because it's just kind of like, and it's nowhere else. I guess I could put this in People Are Dying Kim. I'm gonna put this in People Are Dying Kim, actually, on second thought, because it's really not that big of a deal, and I honestly don't care. And also, it was a means to an end. Okay, so this next one's gonna be a little interesting. So I wanted to tackle the subject of shipping wars, which is not an issue exclusive to the Genshin Impact fandom, okay? So I don't want to see any comments like, yeah, the Genshin Impact fandom is so toxic and like the worst. It's not, okay? Every single fandom is okay, I don't want to hear it. There's always gonna be some bad apples. So this isn't like a singular event controversy that happened. It's like a continuous problem that shippers and people just in the fandom face every single day. So I wanted to talk about it because it's an issue. I think it's getting like too much. I think it's getting too much. So for this next portion of the video, I highly encourage you to not comment anything until I'm done talking. Just listen to what I have to say and then give me your thoughts and opinions. But just listen real fast. Just listen real quick. Okay. So in my opinion, as long as a ship isn't hurting anybody, like, or then y'all need to leave each other alone and just let people ship what they want to ship. I think it's crazy when I see people who are shipping ships that are queer and then homophobic people come in like, why can't they just be friends? Or you guys make everything queer. That's crazy and stupid. And I also hate to see when someone ships a ship that is heterosexual and then someone's like, oh my god, this is so homophobic of you. It's not that deep. I promise you it's not that deep, okay? Not everyone's gonna like your ship and not everyone is supposed to. Shipping is supposed to be lighthearted and fun. It's one of my favorite things to do when engaging with a new fandom, and it also is something that I talk a lot about on my channel. That being said, some people do take it very seriously and some harassment online does take place when people encounter ships that they don't like. So by saying this, I'm not saying that every single ship is valid. There are some that are very questionable and there are a lot that I don't like, but I don't interact with that stuff because I don't like it. That's just the simple nature of it. So now Kaeluc is coming into this discussion, which is the ship between kaeya and diluc. Because hey, get up here. What are you doing? Get your hands off that keyboard. Relax, take them off. Take a breather. I said to let me finish. I guarantee you do not know what I'm about to say. I guarantee it. So we're going to talk about Kaeluc because it is probably the most contentious ship in the fandom due to it being understood very differently from a lot of people. And okay, so before I continue talking, I want to tell you, first off, hold on, I don't ship Kaeluc. I personally don't it. But that being said, the culture in which you grow up in heavily influences how you perceive media. Kaeluc as a ship is huge in China due to the culture in which it is understood and ingested. I kind of want to do a whole video talking about the complexities of this ship and also how it exposes the larger problem in like fandom. So let me know if you're interested. I'd like to talk about it. What I say in the situation is that if you run into something online that makes you uncomfortable in any way, shape, or form, you unfollow, you block, you run away. But what you don't do is dox, harass, abuse, because at the end of the day, this is fictional. So as I stated earlier, I don't ship Kaeluc, and I personally don't agree with it. So you know what I do instead? I instead look at art of Kaveh Alhaitham, Lumaine Child even, Kaeya Albedo, Beidou Ningguang. I instead look at the content that makes me happy, that makes me feel safe. But that is my decision to make. What crosses the line for me and what doesn't. I do not make that decision for others. I simply remove myself from the situation and go about my day. As long as things stay fictional, it's none of my business. This is gonna go into MHA fandom because it's just kind of like, girl. Okay, so next up is the whole Kaveh glitch thing that happened like really recently. This one's a little funny and it also is super recent, but it kind of exposes a larger issue. In August of 2023, so last month of me writing the script, scary hacking news spread throughout social media like wildfire, detailing how some players were going into other people's worlds through co-op and permanently deleting items in their world. And these items were like serious stuff, like domain trees, statue of the seven, elemental monuments, and one video showed us that someone had their chests deleted. The only characters that were able to come into your world and do such a heinous thing were people who played as Kaveh, where if they activated his E near a precious object, you could say bye-bye to that object forever. Later, it was said that Nahida could also erase things as well. At first, it was thought that all Kavehs and Nahidas could do this if they entered your world as these characters, but really from what I understand now, it was just a select few people who were using third-party plugins to get this hacking done. They chose Kaveh in particular particular because his E makes bloom cores explode around him. So hackers only had to code some objects in the game to act as bloom cores, which would make them disappear. Hoyoverse released a statement on the 28th of August detailing how the bug was fixed on the 25th, and this statement was long, okay? They were pissed. They said that if you had your deleted, it was fixed, and if smaller things were deleted, it would be fixed in a later update. They told us to boycott third-party plugins, and that those that were using those plugins got banned, and legal action would be taken. Also, a lot of the fear online was overhyped, since a lot of the videos with the bug evidence were taken by the hackers who wanted to instill fear. It poses a larger issue with cybersecurity, and it was definitely a bit nerve-wracking since you were scared to do co-op with anyone, especially people with Kaveh and Nahida's profile picture. But the fact that the person that was stealing everyone's was Kaveh, who was the man in mountains of debt, was so funny. But I'm so glad that it's been resolved. This is gonna go into, so that just happened. Because it just kind of like happened, and it wasn't Hoyoverse's fault really, and it was just a few bad eggs that did it. So next up is Lyney and the hate that he has gotten. So this one infuriates me and kind of makes me sad, because at first it was a little funny, and then you really think about it and you're like, damn, this sucks. So Lyney, one of the newest characters that debuted alongside the newest region, Fontaine, hit the Genshin scene, and either people loved him or hated him. His design is quite feminine and honestly a little risque, with him donning a corset, ruffles, thigh garter, belt things, and a very, very flirty personality. He's a member of the Samsung LGTB community, okay? And if you want some more details onto why I say that my man is queer, other than just like looking at him, then I highly recommend watching my video on queer coding and Genshin Impact. If you are open-minded and want to see why there are some characters in the game that are hinted at being queer through subtext and stuff like that, then I highly recommend watching that video. So when his teaser dropped, the fandom went from, oh, is he like, to, damn, this dude gay. Good for him. Good for him. They even tried to say he was taking away the twink title from Venti, which, you know, hold the phone, okay? Venti is the king. He is the blueprint. He is the pink print, okay? You can't usurp the king that easily. Relax. But anyways, Genshin's LGBTQ community was saying that Lyney was looking very homosexual, which a lot of you dismiss because you guys hate it when gay people are happy. But anyways, once the homophobic people started pointing out how fruity our favorite magician was, then you know you got a good queer character. This sadly wasn't very funny though. Lyney's Korean trailer got mass disliked on YouTube because of this. Just 2 days following the teaser's drop, the dislikes were 11,000 compared to the 5,000 likes. This is far from the case with his English and Japanese trailer, where Lyney was adored. Korean netizens were mad that he seemed so gay and looked so gay and was so overly feminine. In a Reddit post by Snewgrapes6541, Grapes goes into detail explaining some of the toxic circles that could be found in the Korean fan base. Now, obviously, not all of the Korean fans are like this, okay? I feel like I don't even need to say that, but I'm going to say that anyways. There are always going to be a few bad eggs that speak really loudly. Grapes goes into detail about the very potent misogyny that some of the male players practice, by making it a point of pride to only pull for the hot girl characters, or waifus, if you will, and generally disliking the effeminate male characters or male characters that seem to be catered to women. They see Lyney's outfit as being gayish, while also somehow made just for women, and this following the fact that there hasn't been too many hot waifus released lately, and a lot of men were being released. All of this hatred fell onto Lyney. Of course, these circles are also very homophobic, and we're starting to suspect Hoyoverse for being a gay company, with how Kaveh and Alhaitham were being so heavily insinuated for being gay. Again, fellas, if even the homophobic people are saying this, then it's true. And how they had to censor some of the more lewd women's outfits and boob jiggle, and how the male characters didn't get censored. It's ridiculous. Grapes also says that if you looked at some of the comments on the Lyney trailer, it was just the male players fighting the female players. Lyney's trailer is a broader example of the rampant misogyny and homophobia that is prevalent in not only some Korean circles, but in many circles across the fandom. I really hope in the future we can all respect each other's differences, and that we can just enjoy this game together. And you know what? Let Lyney be a boy kisser. The world isn't gonna explode. I promise you, it's not that serious. I'm gonna put this into MHA fandom because it's just so cringe. Just because like homophobic people are so cringe in like a bad way. So So now to finish off our discussion of today, we will be covering the Wanderer controversy that was prevalent in the Chinese side of the fandom. This is our last topic and also our most disturbing, arguably. So I will now be giving trigger warnings for this next section of the video. These trigger warnings include animal abuse, and a lot of very nasty, harassing behavior. So again, skip to this timestamp here if you do not want to hear this. I do not blame you. Take care of yourself, okay? And I will see you on the other side. Okay. Hold. So when I released part 1 of this series, a lot of you guys commented that you wanted to hear the Wanderer controversy be discussed, and unfortunately at the time when I was filming and editing, that was when the controversy kind of hit our social media pages, though it has been going on in the Chinese community for quite a long time. Snoo2612 posted on Reddit a complete overview on what has been happening in the Chinese Genshin fandom and how it has completely spiraled out of control. Snoo in their post detailed the fragility of the Chinese fandom, where the tiniest thing can cause a war. People see their favorite characters as idols, Snoo explains, and they can act with intense emotion over their idols being treated unfairly. For Wanderer, a lot of his fans are women, and the majority of his haters are men. They dislike how much of a brat he is, and some fans remarked how they thought he was stealing Nahida away from them because they saw Nahida as desirable. Okay. Oh lord. Fans that lived on internet forums such as NGA and Tiaba were the most vocal about their hate for Wanderer and couldn't stand to even listen to him. Similar to the Lyney situation, players saw Wanderer as being a symbol for the female audience and hated Wanderer because he was this battle against the female players. The male players wanted the game to only be catered to them, and with how many male characters were being dropped for what they saw as solely for women or for gay people, things started to really pick up. They wanted Genshin to be this wonderland full of hot women for their eyes only and for no one else. They started to blame everything wrong with Genshin on their female employees and claimed that a woman must have written Wanderer and that she had to pay. This is where the real life consequences came in and where they tried to dox Hoyoverse employees to make them pay for creating Wanderer and hoping that he would be deleted from the game. They couldn't really find anything with not one person being in charge of writing but instead a whole team, so they couldn't really stick their anger on one person, thank God. But they did decide to attack the leaders of the screenwriting team, since we have seen their faces before on the live streams. They found one woman who had a signature on some leaked character design sheets and said she was the creator for Wanderer, but all they did was talk trash about her online. They even attacked his Chinese voice actor, who was known as Kana, while they were live on stream. And then they even went as far as killing cats that looked like Scaramouche's persona in a cutscene and gleefully post the pictures online to their forums, which is so nauseating. Their whole goal was to get Scara erased from the game, so they harassed his fans, tried to dox fellow fandom members who enjoyed Wanderer, and did everything in their power to try and bomb his banner sales. And when his sales were actually super low, they rejoiced. They even went as far as to report him to the government, trying to link him with Japanese militarism. Government officials dismissed this and said it held no grounds, so no action was actually taken. Also, the original author of the Reddit post was doxxed by these people and threatened for making the story public, which is like insane. I hope they're all right. These members of the community went from fans to obsessive to hateful and then to vengeful, and just wanted to see Hoyoverse as a company suffer for even creating a character like him. I personally love Wanderer because he's such a complex character, and I really hope this doesn't deter Hoyoverse from including him in future content, but I just saw them drop Wanderer merch, so it looks like they don't give a dude. So I was originally going to put this in MHA fandom because it's the fandom being crazy, but honestly, people killed over this, so I'm going to put it in not funny because it's such an issue and people's lives are being attacked and harassed because of this. It just feels so much more serious than MHA fandom, so going down here. It's not funny. I don't think it's funny at all. I think it's really bad. It's just so much and it's so disgusting. I just really hope that the people who are dedicating their life to this cause can wake up one day and realize that it's a drawing, you know? Like, when is it ever that serious? Like, when is anything ever that serious, you know? All right, and with that, our tier list is now complete. I wanted to say thank you so much for watching, and I really hope you enjoyed. Comment which controversies you personally experienced, or the ones that were like crazy or any opinions you may have. Again, keep it civil, keep it courteous and respectful to each other and to me. That's all I ask for. Also, let's not let a controversy happen with YouTube by giving it a little like and a subscribe so that I can continue making content like this and you could help support the channel and I could continue to show up on your recommended. Also follow us on twitch.tv/eissocial. I'm live Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays at 7 p.m. EST. If you would like to fill out this tier list yourself, both this one and the last one will be linked in the description down below. And also feel free to tweet me your tier lists at eistweeting and follow me there while you're at it. Might as well, right? And I also want to thank these stellar people for their help on proofreading this whole document and making sure that I make sense. Happy 3-year anniversary to Genshin Impact. We will be celebrating the anniversary live on the 29th on Twitch, so definitely come on down to hang out with us for that. I am so happy this game exists and I don't know where I'd be without it. So yeah. But that is all from me. So if I don't see you on Twitch, then I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Wait, I have to say something funny for the end. Balls.